It is officially time for the Marcus Freeman era to begin in South Bend. And despite having a brand new coach, the expectations at Notre Dame are still the same. Win the big games and make the college football playoff. The question is whether or not Freeman can deliver all of that in his first year. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert guys, again, ready to break down, predict, analyze Notre Dame's schedule and record for this upcoming college football season. And guys, Marcus Freeman inherits a great situation in South Bend. Not only is he the new head man for one of the most historic and proud programs in all of college football, but when you look at the numbers and when you look at the roster, this is a Notre Dame team that can get to the college football playoff. This is a team that last year went 11-2. Their lone losses to Cincinnati, a playoff team, and to Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl, a game that Freeman actually coached. He was promoted to head coach at that point. First real game was the Fiesta Bowl where the Fighting Irish blew a 21-point lead to the Cowboys. When you look at the numbers, guys, Notre Dame last year, 45th on offense, 43rd in defense, but 15th in scoring. So pretty solid there. When you look at the offense, guys, they lose a lot. They lose Jack Cohn, they lose Kyron Williams, lose guys like that. But Tyler Buchner does step in at quarterback, and if he can stay healthy, he has a chance to be very, very good and very dangerous with his dual threat capability. The offensive line is extremely solid. The only thing that Notre Dame has to work on are their pass catchers. Don't really have much help for Tyler Buchner at the quarterback position. They need more pass catchers outside of their star tight end in Michael Mayer. Defensively, that's Marcus Freeman's strength, right? That's what he's good at. Al Golden comes in as the new defensive coordinator, had experience as the head coach at Miami, has lately had experience in the NFL, lately with the Bengals. And this is a Notre Dame defensive line, guys, is absolutely loaded with Isaiah Foskey up there, leading up the front, had 11 sacks last year. And also everybody freaked out about the loss of Kyle Hamilton. Notre Dame quickly replaced him with Northwestern star Brandon Joseph. So this defense, guys, is going to be very, very solid once again. And they're going to get their first legitimate test right out of the gate in week 1 at Ohio State. This will absolutely test Notre Dame's defense, and this will absolutely see whether or not Freeman can win the big games. This is one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game, of week 1. Notre Dame, Ohio State, and the Horseshoe. Obviously, it's an emotional game for a lot of reasons. Marcus Freeman, first legit game as head coach of the Fighting Irish, playing against his former team, coaching against his former team. He used to play for Ohio State many years ago. But this Notre Dame defense, guys, is now facing off against arguably the best offense in the country. Ohio State has C.J. Stroud, Travion Henderson, Jackson Smith-Jigba, all of those guys just on offense. Their quarterback, running back, wide receiver, maybe the best trio in the country. The defense, guys, should improve exponentially with the new defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles. And right now, guys, I don't know if Ohio State has the offensive capability to keep up with Ohio State in this game. I don't think Notre Dame has that offensive capability. We're going to give Ohio State the win here. Home field advantage is going to be a huge role in this one, and this is obviously not an ideal first game to work out any kinks that Notre Dame might have, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's close for a while. The Buckeyes pull away. A game with major playoff implications. Notre Dame drops it in week 1. We believe the Fighting Irish win their next 2 games, though. They're going to take down Marshall. They're going to take down Cal. California, obviously the bigger test of the 2, but the Golden Bears simply, to me, very similar to what we just said about Notre Dame against Ohio State. They don't have the offensive capability to come into South Bend and win against this defense. They don't have the offensive capability to put up enough points on Notre Dame. The offense has struggled year after year under Justin Wilcox, and we're not going to see a significant change now entering, his 5th or 6th year. It's just not going to happen. So Notre Dame will be 2-1, and then they head into North Carolina. The Fighting Irish beat the Tar Heels last year by 10, 44-34. Obviously, a lot has changed for both teams now. Both teams dealing with a new quarterback, a lot of changes on both sides of the ball. But I like Notre Dame still here against North Carolina, and the major reason why is their defense. That is why. North Carolina's defense is still shady, guys. It's not the best. They struggled a lot last year, especially in the secondary. And I can see this being a game where Notre Dame's, I would say, lackluster core of wide receivers actually shows up. And Tyler Buchner has a pretty solid game and exploits this North Carolina secondary that should improve, but not nearly enough to take down the Fighting Irish. In addition to that, North Carolina dealing with a brand new quarterback, whether it's Jacoby Criswell or Drake May, whoever it may be, not going to be Sam Howell right out of the gate. And I think Notre Dame's defense is going to be able to shut that down, even though it is in Chapel Hill. So Notre Dame does beat North Carolina. They're 3-1 heading into a bye week, and a much-needed one because the bye week comes right before a tough BYU team. This game's going to be fun, guys. In Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. A BYU team that easily could be a top 15 team at this point. The same, obviously, can be said for Notre Dame. This will be one of Notre Dame's toughest tests of the year. There's no doubt about it. The Cougars match up very well with Notre Dame. Very strong up front on both the offensive line and the defensive line. The defense should improve for BYU. They should be more healthy this year. A lot of injuries last year. BYU actually owns the quarterback, and I would say offensive edge over Notre Dame. Jaron Hall, the real deal, if, like Tyler Buchner, he can stay healthy. However, we talked a lot about defense throughout these first couple of games, and that is going to apply once again for Notre Dame here. While these two teams are relatively even at the line of scrimmage, to me, Notre Dame owns that edge. Notre Dame owns that edge on the offensive line and the defensive line. And when a game is going to be extremely physical, it's who can get the most push, who can win the battle at the line of scrimmage, and that is going to be the Fighting Irish. So in a game that I think is relatively close, and a game that should be an electric atmosphere out in Vegas, Notre Dame is going to get this win, and they need this high-quality win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Marcus Freeman delivers in a game that maybe isn't as big as the Ohio State one, but still big in the grand scheme of things. We think Notre Dame wins their next two games over Stanford and UNLV. We don't mean to bypass those two so quickly, but Notre Dame beat Stanford 45-14 last year. That was on the road. Now it's in South Bend. Stanford defensively isn't going to improve that much after having the worst defense in the Pac-12 when it came to points per game, rushing, and total defense. Notre Dame should have a pretty solid case in this game to take care of Stanford. They win that, cruise past UNLV. We believe they'll beat Syracuse as well. Despite the game being in the Carrier Dome, Syracuse is a team that relies so heavily on the run. And Marcus Freeman knows that. Marcus Freeman is going to come into this game and go, hey, if we can slow down the run game, we're going to win this game. The Fighting Irish were 37th versus the rush last year. We talked about how strong this Notre Dame defensive line is. They'll take care of Syracuse, Sean Tucker, Garrett Schrader, and just like that, they've stacked up 2, 4, 6 straight wins heading into the next biggest game against Clemson in South Bend. This is the big one, guys. Beginning of November, playoff hopes are still on the line, maybe for both programs at this point. This is Clemson and Notre Dame's fourth meeting since 2018. So they're starting to meet each other a lot more frequently here. A couple games that have been, one in the playoff, one in the ACC championship game, one a few years ago here in South Bend, one that Notre Dame won 47-40 in overtime, an absolute classic, a thriller. That will be the case this year. And guys, if you like defense, this is going to be the game for you. I think Notre Dame and Clemson especially, are going to have two of the best defenses in the country. The Tigers are absolutely loaded up front. Absolutely will bounce back from a disappointing 2021. And really this is going to come down to two things. Offensive play and home field advantage, right? South Bend is going to play a major, major role in this game, just like it did back in 2020. And right now, I'm actually going to give the slight edge offensively to Notre Dame. Because while Clemson should bounce back, we don't know the status of their quarterback. Will DJ Uiagalelei bounce back? Will he even be the starter at this point? Will it be Cade Klubnik? Clemson will bounce back, but the offense is going to be a major reason why they succeed or fall short of their goals once again. And with home field advantage on their side and another solid defense that can shut down this Clemson offense, I'm going to side with Notre Dame here. I'm absolutely going to side with the Fighting Irish against Clemson, and Marcus Freeman is going to deliver in a big-time game. Yeah, Brian Kelly did the same thing a few years ago. But something feels different, right? Marcus Freeman will deliver against Clemson, and Notre Dame will still be in the hunt for the college football playoff heading into late November because we believe they're going to cruise past Navy. Despite the triple option attack, Notre Dame always plays well against Navy. They beat them 34-6 last year, and the midshipmen should struggle again in 2022. And we believe they will beat Boston College. This will not be an easy game by any means, but a lot of factors go into this one. First off, cool storyline. Boston College quarterback Phil Jurkovec was a Notre Dame quarterback. He transferred from Notre Dame to Boston College. Never really saw the field with the Fighting Irish, but he's finally getting his chance to start in South Bend, just not for the team he originally wanted to play for. So an interesting storyline there. The Eagles are no slouch whatsoever, and Notre Dame cannot afford to overlook Boston College in preparation for USC because the Eagles will beat them if they do. But on senior night, Marcus Freeman keeping his team locked in, which I believe he will do. I believe Notre Dame gets the win over the Eagles here. Again, Boston College's rush defense is going to be their Achilles heel. This is a game where I think Tyler Buckner's dual threat ability plays a major role. So just like that, guys, Notre Dame is 10-1 heading into their season finale against USC. They win this game, they very well could be in the playoff. Yes, one loss, but that's all the way back in September against a good Ohio State team. Can Notre Dame beat USC and get to the playoff? We don't think so. We think the Fighting Irish are going to fall just short. USC, guys, completely different team from last year. Yes, Notre Dame beat them 31-16, but they didn't have any of the players that they have now, at least the key ones. No Caleb Williams, no Travis Dye, no Jordan Addison, no reloaded defense. Again, this is another game, guys, where Notre Dame's offense should get better as the year goes on, but similar to Ohio State, does Notre Dame have the offensive capability to keep up with USC? We don't think they do, especially not on the road. This game could be relatively high scoring because the Trojans aren't going to have the best defense in the world by any means, but Notre Dame, to me, right now does not have the offensive firepower to keep up with USC step for step. They will be able to exploit this Fighting Irish defense, not crazily, but enough to put up the points. And on senior night for the Trojans, out in LA, I believe Lincoln Riley and his squad deliver because I do believe this team is going to be really dang good. And Notre Dame, guys, finishes the year at 10-2. Not a bad year for Marcus Freeman in year one. 10-2 is going to get Notre Dame to a New Year's Six bowl game, one that hopefully they can win after falling short last year in that Fiesta Bowl. But obviously a playoff berth is what the Fighting Irish want. It'll be devastating to lose all those hopes in the finale against USC. They win that. They're still in the hunt on Selection Sunday. They lose. They go to a New Year's Six bowl game. But regardless, guys, Notre Dame is going somewhere good. They are going to have another double-digit win season, and the future, especially with the way he's doing on the recruiting trail, looks extremely bright in South Bend under Marcus Freeman. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything also down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Make sure to sign up for those today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.